The Michigan Man Podcast, episode 202. It wasn't the way McGarry planned it, but nonetheless, Mitch is leaving Ann Arbor to chase his NBA dreams. And since 1945, only two men have been the radio voice for Michigan football. Add number 3 to the list. Jim Brandstatter, who will be our guest on this week's show. This is the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue, and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Before we get started with today's show, I have one program reminder. As many of you know, we publish the show each week from August through April. So you guessed it, starting in May, we're on our summer schedule of 2 shows a month. That means our next show will air on May 14th, so please make a note of that on your calendar. That will give us all a chance to enjoy some spring and summer, if it ever gets here in Michigan, and then in August we'll resume weekly programming. Right around the corner on Michigan Game Day, we'll be joined by the new radio play-by-play voice of Michigan football, though he's a familiar one, Jim Brandstatter. First, a few Wolverine news and notes before Jim joins us. Most of us were uncertain whether Mitch McGarry would stay for his junior year or try his luck in the draft. All of us agreed it was really a tough decision. On Friday, we learned Mitch had made the decision, albeit for different reasons than we expected. We all know the story by now and have had time to let it sink in. For me, it's hard to summarize Mitch's career. Hotshot high school recruit, a freshman that struggled to find his game, and then explode in the NCAA tournament last year, making memories for all of us. Then a sophomore who appeared in only 8 games, then underwent season-ending back surgery. Then when the season ended, we all speculated about Mitch's future. Should he stay for his junior season or make the jump to the NBA? You could make an argument for either choice. In the end, it was one lapse in judgment at a party with friends, which helped make the decision clear for Mitch. He stood up, though, before the media on Friday and took full responsibility for his actions. Maybe one day we'll know what Mitch's decision would have been if his lapse of judgment hadn't become the game changer. Mitch is only 21 years old, and we hope he has a bright NBA future ahead of him. He was loved by his teammates. Coach John Beilein said he was a joy to coach, and the beat writers will tell you he was always ready to talk, and he was a great interview. He interacted with the fans before and after games and enjoyed posing for pictures and signing autographs for anyone who wanted one. We all make mistakes in life, and those of us who have a few miles under the hood and were young once can understand just what happened that night at a party with his friends in Ann Arbor. And we all know that after you make a mistake, you have to apologize and just move on with life, hopefully learning a valuable lesson that will benefit you on life's journey. So thanks, Mitch. It just wasn't long enough. But I enjoyed your 2 years here at Michigan and wish you only the best, most importantly in life, but also in the NBA. Go Blue. If you were lucky, you grew up listening to Michigan football on Saturdays with your transistor tuned to the exciting play-by-play voice of Bob Ufer. When Bob passed away, many of us thought Saturdays would never be the same. But as we know, time heals all wounds. And Frank Beckman took over for Bob, doing an outstanding job for over 30 years, bringing us the excitement on Saturdays of Michigan football on the Michigan Football Network. Since 1945, Wolverine fans have known only 2 radio play-by-play voices. When Frank retired last year, we wondered who would be next. Many of us thought the new guy would come from outside of the Michigan family. So we were wrong. Last week, the university and IMG Sports announced that Jim Brandstatter would be moving from the color analyst job to take over the play-by-play. It was a bit of a surprise, but a very pleasant one. Coming up next on our Michigan Game Day segment, Jim Brandstatter shares his thoughts and talks about the shoes he will be filling this fall. Here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue, Michigan Wolverine. Joining us on our Michigan Game Day segment this week, the new radio play-by-play voice of Michigan football, Jim Brandstatter. Jim, congratulations, and thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, and it's great to be with you.
Well, the radio voice of Michigan football, after nearly 40 years in the booth doing color, that is quite the position switch, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a new challenge. It's going to be fun. I've got a great new partner. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around for me. I really I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've done color for a long time. It's not that I don't love it. I do. But having a little change of pace, going from, macaroni and cheese to mashed potatoes, I guess. It's just a little different, and it brings a little bit something new to me, which is kind of re-energizing me to get me back in there and do a little bit more homework and look at the game a little differently, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun.
Well, back in 2003, Jim, you pinch hit for Frank when he had back surgery, did the play-by-play for, I think it was the Northwestern game?
It was indeed.
Yeah, and then you sort of, filed that tape away. Who'd have known all of these years later, it kind of, in a way, became your audition tape for this, didn't it?
That's exactly right. Normally when you're in our business, when you're in the broadcasting business, you tape everything you do, and you have samples of your work. It's just something you do from the time you begin. So when I had the opportunity to do the play-by-play, I talked to WJR at the time, and I said, look, I'd like a tape of that if you can get it, and I'll pay for it. I'll do whatever's necessary. I said, don't worry about it. They made me a CD copy. So I had it, and I just put it in my files. I hadn't seen it in 9 years. And it actually wasn't very good, so I had to go to another guy, Art Volo, who's the guy that is kind of a Michigan archivist, if you will, about Michigan football. And he had a tape of it also, and it was a much better copy because mine had kind of degraded over the years. So we got it done, and I turned it in late January to Michigan and said, if they were interested in me in that capacity, here's a sample. And in March, they said, we think you can do the job. And next thing you know, I'm changing jobs, and I'm doing play-by-play, which is fine by me. I'm really excited about it.
Well, in all of these years of doing color and hosting Michigan Replay and doing the coaches shows inside Michigan football, did it ever cross your mind that you'd like to do play-by-play?
Not really. I was real happy and very comfortable doing what I was doing. And it's just one of those things where life kind of gets in the way, and it came about. It really it found me. I didn't find it. I was not seeking the job to do play-by-play. As a matter of fact, throughout the season, when Frank announced that he was going to retire, my whole focus to Dave Brandon was to say, look, I want to stay on the broadcast and continue doing Michigan football in the capacity that I am now. And Dave said, no problem. You're going to be safe and solid, and we'd like you to help with the transition of whoever the new guy is. And I said, great. That sounds like a plan. And it wasn't until literally late January that they came to me and asked me if I could do play-by-play. And I, like you said, gave them a tape. And so the job really found me. I didn't go out and look for it. So I did not think way back when I was doing this that I'd ultimately become a play-by-play guy. But it's there now, and I'm going to make the best of it.
Well, Jim, a lot of folks that are not in broadcasting might not realize it, but moving from color to play-by-play really changes how you prep for the games too, doesn't it?
It does. I've always said this when I've given speeches and stuff. I said the play-by-play guy answers the questions who, what, when, and where. The color guy answers the questions why and how. And those are if you ask how the job varies, the play-by-play guy has a lot more technical issues that he's got to keep straight. You got to now, whether it's a run, it's a pass. Who's got the ball? Who throws the ball? Who catches the ball? What yard line they're on? Whether they got a first down or whether they didn't? How many yards they made? Time on the clock? Score of the game? all of those things are issues that you have to incorporate in a relatively smooth, seamless kind of way while broadcasting the game and being entertaining at the same time. And there is a trick to that, and it's a little bit different. And you have to have, I think, a better knowledge of the players' numbers, who they are, and things like that. Watch closer to the actual yard lines and things that they're on and down in distance. Whereas a color guy, you look for trends, you look for matchups, you look for, they're running a lot of zone, and Michigan would be attacking that zone underneath, things like that are a little bit more Y and how stuff. So there is a bit of different preparation on how you get ready for a football game.
Well, Jim, since 1945, I think it is, we've had two legendary voices in the radio.
Isn't that unbelievable?
It really is when you think about it. That's for most Michigan fans, it's hard to believe, can't remember Bob Ufer, other than what they hear, of course, on CD or tape. That covers a long period of time. And when you sit back and think about it in your lazy boy, how does it feel to follow in the footsteps of those two giants? Not that you're not a giant yourself, well, it is amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, and it's a great honor. I mean, it is a position of great reputation. It's a position of great history, and I appreciate that history. Ufer, I think, set the table for everybody, and then Frank, for 30 years, did an outstanding job. I mean, you couldn't have asked him to be a better follow-up to a legend. And I think that I take Frank's attitude going into it. I cannot be Bob Ufer. I can't be Frank Beckman. I got to be me. I've got to have a style, a way of doing the play-by-play that Michigan fans are going to appreciate and enjoy and be informed and enjoy listening to the games, whether it's on their transistor radio at the stadium or whether it's in their car or whether it's in their living room or family room or in their backyard, mowing the lawn. Those are the things that I want to make sure they enjoy. And part of that is the addition of Dan Deerdorf, too, because you not only have to be technically sound and draw that picture a person can see in their mind's eye, Michigan Stadium, the color of the uniforms, the direction they're going, in the stadium. They also have to be entertained. And I think that was the beauty of both Frank and Bob, to be honest with you. There's no question that, Bob entertained with the Bo Schembechler scoring horn, with his poems, with his prose, if you will, on how he broadcast the game. Frank was a little bit more straight down the line broadcaster, and yet had a tremendous ability to bring stories and background into the game, and was very entertaining. And I just want to be me, and I want to just kind of follow in their footsteps. Can't fill their shoes; they're too big, but at least kind of make my own shoes for the next few years, and hopefully the Michigan faithful will accept that.
Well, the icing on the cake for you, Jim, has to be that you get to work with your teammate, your close friend, Dan Deerdorf. That has to excite the heck out of you, doesn't it?
Oh, without question. We've known each other for 40 years. I mean, we came to school together. We were 18 and 19 years old, and became good friends throughout those first 3 years of Bo Schembechler. And we've talked and called each other. I mean, there have been times where we haven't talked in maybe a year or two because he's been busy doing professional football. And I remember I went down to his retirement game, and we've run across each other in the broadcast booth since he's been doing NFL games. And it's just, he's good to see. He's a good friend, and we both like each other, and both of us are of like mind that we love Michigan football. And he's told me, he says, I'm jealous of you that you get to do Michigan football. You get to go and tailgate at the big house and see all the guys we played with. He said, that's got to be fun for you on weekends. And I said, it's a great joy. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And he told me when this whole thing came out, he said, now I get to do those things that I've wanted to do for the last 30 years. And in addition, broadcast the games. He said, how good can that be? I said, Dan, I understand you completely, because I've been doing it now for over 30 years. And just the ability to turn and look to him, kind of know what he's going to say, or to see that twinkle in his eye when he's got, that little dig that he's going to give me, or whatever that thing is that he's going to say. Both of us love to ad-lib. Both of us love to be playful if you will. And I love the